my good buddy, to another video. In this video, I am gonna put the Xbox Series X to the 120 hertz test, and it's pretty much a controversy, but I'm gonna do it. And at the end, I'm gonna give you guys my quick review on the Xbox Series X. So the three games that I'm conducting is Gears 5, Modern Warfare 2019, Warzone, and Call of Duty Cold War. And supposedly, they say that Modern Warfare can do 4K, native 4K at 120 hertz, and Gears 5 4K natively at 120 hertz, and for Call of Duty Cold War 1200p at 120 hertz. Now, that means that those three games are supported not just 120 hertz, but 120 frames per second. Originally, the Gears 5, before it came out, they were targeting 1728p, 120 hertz, but it is 4K. But as far as the Modern Warfare multiplayer or Warzone, that's a controversy because there's no really way to tell what you're really outputting as far as the hertz go. But I'm just going to do that test and show you guys here. And the only true way to really conduct this test is obviously with the in-game counter, frames per second counter, if it was available for that game. And just a heads up, the difference between hertz and frames per second. So typically, your 120 hertz is referred to your refresh rate. And what does the refresh rate do? Well, the refresh rate is how many times your monitor refreshes the image on the screen. And the other one is your frame rate. And of course, you need the monitor that can do the hertz in order for the frame rates to go up to those hertz. And what is frame rate? What does frame rate do? Your frames per second. Well, frame rate is how many frames your game produces for the GPU. That is what your frame rate. So there's a little bit different, but they coalesce together. But that's a little bit different between those two. Also, I want to mention that the consensus is that the human eye cannot see beyond 60 hertz, but you can feel the difference. I just want to point that out. And now they say that Gears 5 can output 120 hertz. Does it though? Actually, it does. So Gears 5 totally 120 hertz, 120 frames per second. Also with that. Now with the Warzone, Modern Warfare 2019 Warzone here, they say that it can go up to native 4K at 120 hertz. But the thing is, with the Warzone, there's no indication in the game. There's no option in the game that tells you that you're running 120 hertz. But they say, the devs say that it can do 100. It's 120 frames per second supported, and it depends on your device, and it depends on your monitor, and it depends on your TV, and if it's not smooth, then you're not getting that 120 hertz. But for me, when I play Modern Warfare 2019 multiplayer and Warzone, Warzone seems to output more towards 120 hertz. They both, Modern Warfare 2019 multiplayer and Modern Warfare 2019 Warzone, it's still above 100 frames per second, and as far as Warzone go, it's more towards 120 hertz, but it does dip down on occasion on Modern Warfare, and it does feel over 100 frames per second from my test for Modern Warfare. So, like I said, it depends on your monitor, it depends on your device, and especially when the devs say that it's 120 hertz supported for Modern Warfare Warzone, and some people might be clunky for them, but that is it does feel 120 hertz or up to 120 hertz supported for the Modern Warfare. Now for Cold War, it is true. For well, let me go to the Series S real quick. It is true the for Series S, it is Xbox Series S. Um, a lot of times when I play on a certain monitor, it does feel like 60 hertz, or on my display. But when I play on my monitor, I don't really feel the I don't feel the lag or the 60 hertz. It feels more than 60 hertz. So I don't know if it's VR supported or not. I know the Xbox Series X is supported for VR, but as far as the Series S go, I'm pretty sure the for Cold War the devs did not optimize it to run 120 hertz for Cold War on a Series S, but on certain monitors, it does feel a little bit smoother than running on a TV. But I'm pretty sure it's not all the way up to 120 hertz. Just a side note for the Cold War on a Series S. And let me back up to Gears 5. On Gears 5, there is an option on the menu on Gears 5 that you can turn up to 120 hertz, and that does do 120 hertz with no problem. And Modern Warfare, like I said, I tested the Warzone, and it feels like it dips down a little bit below 120, but it's pretty much above 100. It's more closer. It stays steady at 120 hertz or 100 frames per second. Either way, it's pretty smooth on the Series X. And Gears 5 here, like I said, at the beginning, the devs were talking about shooting for 1728p native resolution at 120 hertz. But ever since I had the Series X, and I bumped it all the way up to 4K at 120 hertz. It's 120 hertz with 100 frames per second smoothly, and native 4K top notch. On my monitor here, I'm only running 1440p at 120 with no HDR, but on my TV display on Gears 5, it is smooth at 120 hertz with HDR 10 and natively 4K, which is 2160p for Gears 5. So Gears 5 is 4K at 60, and it's 100% 120 frames per second smooth. For Modern Warfare, it is up to 120 hertz for Warzone and multiplayer, or it feels that way for my tests. And for Call of Duty Cold War, so for the Xbox X version, sometimes when you load your Xbox X Cold War, make sure that you're in your menu that your 120 hertz is enabled. Sometimes it's not enable, it's disable. But it is, if it is disabled on your Xbox Series X version, of course you have to have the Cold War Series X version to have that feature. But if it is not enabled on your menu on the Cold War, just restart your app or your game, and it should be enabled on 120 hertz. Just keep that in mind for Cold War, because sometimes if you guys don't check it, you're assuming that it's running 120 hertz, and you might feel like it's not, it doesn't feel right. That's probably why You just got to restart your console or restart your app, and it should take you to 120 hertz. So as far as um, Call of Duty Call of Duty Cold War, it is um, it is 120 hertz for the Xbox Series X and runs really smooth. And supposedly it's 1200p, but upscaled to 4K. But I can't tell the difference. It looks 4K to me on my display, on my TV display, and it looks pretty good on my monitor here, which is 1440p here. So pretty much the Series X is everything an Xbox One X owner uh, would want, but a lot faster, of course, and have better performance along with better graphics because it's a new hardware, and of course it's a lot quicker. And I personally like the design of this Xbox Series X. At first I did not like it, but I warmed up to it, and because I'm used to like the slim type of Xbox One X or Xbox One S or Xbox Series S, rectangular, more of a skinnier tower, and but I'm used to it now, and I like the design of the Series X, but it's all personal taste. And the controller is slightly better than is a little improvement from the Xbox One, and I love both of them anyway, but it's just slightly better as far as the controller goes. And speaking of which, I will be giving a review soon when I get a chance on the controller for the Elite Series 2 controller. And the user interface for the Xbox Series X, if you didn't know, is the same as the previous generation. And I'm gonna tell you what I also like about the Series X, and it's pretty much part of my review. But of course, the Series X comes with an 8K processor. It has 2.1 HDMI ports for only just $500, and of course, it can play 4K movies, and you can stream with Dolby Atmos or DTX Master Audio. Also, it's backwards compatible, if you did not know, for majority of the Xbox previous games, and it's native 4K outputted at 120 hertz with HDR. It has 12 teraflops of GPU. This Xbox Series X supports ray tracing. You can use it supports the expansion pack or external hard drive, and of course, the games are all beautiful. Most of them are beautiful, especially Mass Effect. The Legendary Edition is beautiful, and almost every game, even the older ones, it's HDR compatible now, and just pops up, and it makes all your old games look even better. So pretty much the Xbox Series X, and I'm not even gonna mention the I'm not even gonna mention the Game Pass, man. That's awesome too. Because the more option you have, the better. So whether you like something or a feature of your device or not, the important thing is that as long as you have the option, that is the most important thing. So to sum it all up here, the Xbox Series X is a great console, and I don't know about the competition. I don't know what. I'm just gonna say this right now. I believe that this, as of right now, the Xbox Series X is the most powerful console to date, and it does everything, and especially like Dolby Atmos and DTSX. But that's my time, guys. I hope you guys learned something, and thanks for tuning in. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Hooded Dragons out.